When you were drafted in the second round of the 1994 draft by the Lions, had the idea of coaching ever even crossed your mind as far as what you were going to do after your playing days were over?
Wow. I was fortunate. I had great coaches throughout my career. High school, college, even Little League, I remember my coaching. And I had really good coaches, really good men. So the idea of coaches being good people and being great influencers of people, I looked up to them, but I didn't coach them. Oh no. I didn't want to be one of those dudes, because I remember the headaches that I gave. So to answer that, it was somewhere way back there, but really, I had no clue that I wanted to be a coach.
I found a story written about you, I think it was when you got hired at Oklahoma State, that described how you basically got tricked into coaching when you visited your alma mater, your high school.
Yeah.
Can you walk through that a little bit, how you ended up getting tricked into the profession?
No, I always say that I didn't know I wanted to coach. I didn't want to coach, but like I said, it was in there somewhere. And I remember even having that thought since 7th grade, but I never would have thought that I'd be wild enough to act on it. Well, when I'm done playing, my old high school coach called me and said, hey, I need you to come and talk to the players. Because he had asked me a few times about coaching when I was done playing, and I'd always say no. So he said, why don't you come and talk to the team? All right, I'll do that. And so I went and talked to the team. And so he said, well, tell you what, we play. Why don't you come to the game and you can be on the sideline? So I said, all right, I'll do that. I'll be on the sideline. So I'm on the sideline, and you start to kind of hey, listen, get inside. Get your hands on it. So they just kind of let me do that. And then at halftime, I went in with them, coaching. And then, after the game, I was still coaching. And then so he said, you ought to come over and watch this film with them, and maybe you can, give your input if you saw something. Those guys that you were talking to out there, why don't you just... So bam, I was there watching the film with them. And the next thing I know, I was there every day, So I said, I think I've been tricked, So there I was, and here I am, because of those guys tricking me.
There was a line in that story that said your high school coach, Elton Conger, and then Gary Darnell, the defensive coordinator who you played under at University of Texas, were the most influential coaches you played for. Is that, now that your entire playing career is over, is that true? And what was it about those two that made them so important in your growth?
Well, I tell you what, that list is longer, and I don't know if you have enough. I don't know if you have enough space to write, for all the guys who have influenced me. But those guys, along with Bruce Bell, along with Joe Kynes, people that I've coached with, but at an early age, a young age, those guys were big time influences in my life. In high school, Coach Conger, because he was able to, along with him and Coach Bell, they were able to coach and be tough on you, but then also have fun. And kids, when they walk in a room with a coach, that stern coach, they're going to sit up straight and they're not going to move. Well, they were able to get you to do that. There was a time for that, and right now, that's that time. They were able to snap their fingers and click on a button, and you knew it was that time. And then they also could be light. They could also love you up. They could also let you go into that other part of their world. And I really learned that from them, because when we get out on the field as a coach now, I'm pretty intense, but then there's a time when you got to turn that off, where your players have to reconnect with you in a different way. They have to, and that's how athletes who are so aggressive on the field are able to maintain in the world. They have to see that, okay, here's that monster, and then here is the person who walks down the street and who opens doors for ladies and who is cordial and gentle with his kids, with his family, but then take him into the field of battle again, and he's a different person. And those guys showed me that.
You talk about connecting with people, and in addition to coaching, you sort of connect with your community, because in 1997 you started a nonprofit charity in Houston called New Beginnings. First of all, what is it? And second of all, what inspired you to do that?
Well, I just have always wanted to give back, and my wife and I, we do a deal, and it's really a Malone family deal. We started many years ago. We just call it, and of course we stole it from somebody. It's Random Acts of Kindness, and what that is that every 2 weeks you have to, she or I or my kids, you have to go out and do something random that you can't do something to benefit your family. You can't do something to benefit your friends, people that you know, people who would look at you the next day and be happy and fulfilled by you doing that act. It has to be random. It has to be people that you don't know. One example is I was riding down the road one day and there's a car just holding up traffic. You know, everybody's pissed and the car's behind them. They're just holding up traffic. Well, that's what happens when you hold up traffic. But as I rolled up past this car, I realized that the lady had a flat. So I'm like, get out of the way, you know. Well, it's time for a random act of kindness. So I turned around, went back. She's a lady. She didn't know how to change a tire or whatever. I had a meeting that I was racing to, as we all do. But I changed that. I helped her change the flat. As a matter of fact, I didn't have all the tools, so I called the GA. Hey, you need to come over and help me change this lady's tire. You know, and before she could really thank me, I left. And that's kind of what it's all about. Is just being random and having an opportunity to give. Well, that organization kind of stemmed from that, and what we wanted to do. My wife is an educator; she's a counselor, so we wanted to do whatever we could do throughout our lives to influence young men as it relates to athletics, as it relates to mentoring them on this side of the law. Rather than trying to pull them out once they have made mistakes in that way. So that's kind of in a gist, in a big gist, what the foundation for New Beginnings is all about.
So when you were balancing that and coaching at Waltrip High School, you had opportunities to go take graduate assistant positions at several colleges, and you turned them down. Yeah. Why?
Well, because I thought that a kid in college, this was my thought at that time, a kid in college, if that guy, if he's a turd, you can't help him. He is what he is at that point. I want to be a person, I want to be a coach that helps to mold, because I felt at that time that high school was the jump off point for the rest of your life. And I remember those guys who influenced me, mostly it happened in high school. So I thought that was the place where you make the biggest impact, make the biggest influence. So that was my target group. Well, then I started to coach and be around these high school kids who would leave and go to college, but then they would come back. So then I thought, man. And it was during that time that I was turning down these jobs that I don't want to coach in college. Well, then when those kids would come back, I would see the same fire in their eyes. I could see their same hunger to learn. So I said, you know what? Maybe this is a group, they're a little bit more mature, they're a little bit more athletic. Maybe this is a group that I can still influence their lives. So I said, you know what? The next job offer that comes along, I don't care where it is, I'm going to take it. And I discussed it with my wife. And just my luck, the next offer was North Dakota State. Before I go to North Dakota, when Coach Bowl called me, I asked him, is that in the United States? And he said, yeah. He says, it's way up there, and you fit right in. So there's the first question that my wife asked me, wait a minute, North Dakota? Are you sure? But it was a great experience. It was a great experience, great people, great football, great kids, and of course, it goes without saying the success that they've had over the years.
Okay, you mentioned your wife. You grew up in Houston. You played at University of Texas. How hard a sell was that to leave the South and go to North Dakota?
Well, what I did is I
got to talk her into it.
I got a hypnotist. It's easy. I mean, just don't go around my wife snapping your fingers, because she'll realize I've done some great things over the years. Well, anyway, it was difficult, but we discussed it, and we made that agreement that wherever it might be, the University of Afghanistan, I was going to have to go. We made this decision, so we had no choice. We just had to find out where it was on the map so that we knew where we were. But like I said, it was a great experience, and I wouldn't trade it forever for the world.
Throughout your college coaching career, you've done some work with special teams, but everywhere along the line, you've either coached corners, safeties, or both, including the last 3 years at Oklahoma State. Was there a point maybe during your tenure in Stillwater where you said, okay, now I'm ready to become a coordinator, or did another coach have to point it out to you and say, you've learned enough, you have enough experience, now it's your time to take that next step?
It's been pointed out to me. Coach Darnell, for the last 5 years, has been slapping me and telling me, okay, let's go. You need to get moving, let's go. And we always say, and I talked to Coach Morris about this, we always say, well, wait a minute, not yet, we're not ready yet. Wait, it's like getting in a car. It's like jumping out of a plane, go. When you go, you'll be okay. Because I've had the opportunity, and I was thinking about it, I worked with Joe Kynes, Gary Darnell, Mike Sherman, Dennis Franchione, Daryl Dickey. I've had some guys who have done some great things in coaching that I've worked with, Mike Gundy. And so they all gave me things. I stole a lot of things from these guys. And like I said, when you jump out of the plane, all those things will come back. We meet defensively. The first time we meet, every time we meet, we say a prayer. That's Joe Kynes, right? That's Joe Kynes, because as an assistant coach, him doing that for me was huge. So there are little things that now I don't do some of the things that some of those guys did. So I was able to, and I've been able to say, you know what, I don't want to do this. I'd rather, this is good. This fits me more. At the time as an assistant coach, I thought, if I ever get an opportunity, I won't do that. So I was able to, and I've had a great assortment of differing people to choose from, to learn from, to put right into my toolbox. So to answer that question, there's never a point where I've said, I'm gonna do this. It's always been a little push by different people. But then once Coach Morris and I began to discuss this, I just feel like God began to shape my mind, shape my thoughts, shape what I did to prepare me for this portion. Because we still haven't coached the game. We still haven't walked out there yet where I had the call sheet in my hand, and I think he's still preparing me for that. I think we're still prepared. Just like our team is still preparing for game one. We can talk during the preseason and the camp and during the summertime about, we're ready. We're not ready. We're not ready until it's time to be ready. When it's time to be ready, when you walk out there, you better be ready. You don't have to be ready right now. I don't have to be ready right now. I can tell you I am. But I'll be more nervous than any player. You know what I mean? But you put me in the plane, I'm going to jump out. You put me in the plane, I'm going to jump out. I'll be hesitant about, maybe I shouldn't get on the plane right now. But once you put me in the plane and you go up to whatever elevation we need to go to, I'm going to jump out. And that's kind of where we are right now. I'm not on the plane yet.
Coach Darnell saw in you what you could become as a coordinator. When you were coaching at Tulsa, you and Coach Morris were on the same staff. Did you see anything in him that made you think that's a future head coach?
Well, because he was on offense, we were not intimate in our relationship working together. But to have a guy like Chad on the staff as the offensive coordinator. When I say a guy, I'm saying a guy who was in high school, and all of a sudden he's coaching as an offensive coordinator, Division I football. That lets you know, and that let me know then, it's football. There's 11 guys on offense. There's 11 on defense. You can scheme and write up all you want to. You got to be able to lead the players. You got to be able to lead men. I saw that in him from day one, and I knew. I didn't know exactly what he'd be doing, but I knew it wouldn't take long, and he'd be doing some special things. So for him, when he left and had the opportunity to go to Clemson, and people were like, "Wow, man, please." That guy is special, and I knew that. So I knew that he'd have an opportunity to be a head coach as well, and I never put any limits on him. And for the guys in this up and down these halls, we're just excited to be with him just because of who he is. And I don't care if he ever watches this, but just who he is, it makes you feel special just to be around him, to be on the staff, but because he's a good man, he's a family man. These players, they know by now who he is. We coach, that's what we do. And when you have a leader who is involved the way he is, then it makes it special to be a part of it, you know, and you just follow right along in his footsteps. Some of the assistant coaches have said it about me, is that their job is to make me the best coordinator that I can be. My job is to make Chad Morris the best head coach that he can be. And I'm going to do everything in my power to make that happen, because when he wins, I'm clapping, I'm more excited for him than I could ever be for myself.
When he got hired as the head coach at SMU, you were one of the first assistants that he hired.
Mm-hmm.
Did your previous relationship with him have you expecting that call, or did he surprise you when he called you and said, "I want you to come to Dallas and be my defensive coordinator"?
Well, we talked before. You know, we talked over the years. We'd always maintain connection. Before we talked about me coming, before we ever discussed me coming, it was me expressing how happy I am for him. So now, for me to come, it's just like I said, that just meant, man, okay, what can I do? How can I help you be what you should be, what you're gonna be? I didn't have any expectation. It was more just happiness for him and for his family, because you want to see good people experience happiness. So I'm excited that he called me, and we had the discussion. I think I jogged here to Dallas. I'm not sure.
A couple of the assistant coaches said that when he called them and invited them to join his staff, the conversation was very short, very quick. Did he have to sell you on the idea of leaving Stillwater?
No, like I said,
or was it a quick conversation with you as well?
We talked about it, you know, while this whole thing was rolling, and SMU is a sleeping giant. In my vision, I'm from Texas, so I know the history of SMU. I had a lot of friends who played and been in this program, so you didn't have to sell me, and I know what he's going to put together in terms of the staff. I know what he was going to lead in terms of recruiting, in terms of relationships with the city of Dallas, relationships across the state of Texas. So he didn't have to sell me. You know, it was, let's start to sell some other people because I'm in, or whatever. And as a matter of fact, with him, he never would have had to sell me. You know, wherever it was, whatever it was. My family and I were in. My boys, they're all over his kids. So that was not any sale to them. Is Chandler gonna be there? McKenzie gonna be there? Where do we sign? So,
in addition to being defensive coordinator, you're also coaching the safeties, while Jess Lepp is coaching the cornerbacks. Why take on both roles? Why not have Coach Lepp coach the secondary and remain in more of an overseeing supervisor role as your first go-round as coordinator?
Yeah, I'm a coach. I'm not a supervisor. Well, honestly, I think that having Jess have an opportunity to coach the corners was big for me because it helps in his growth. then coaching and working with the safeties, rather than being in an overseeing role, I just felt more comfortable there, just to be able to have a handle on a position rather than not. Coaches who don't have a position, they're miserable. Because we coach, we want to touch somebody, we want to yell at somebody, you know. So it's just tough to not have a position to coach, because then I won't let Buddy Wyatt coach because I'm coaching his guys, or I won't let Coach Lepp coach because I'm coaching his guys. Well, I don't want to coach their guys. I want to coach my guys, and I want to coordinate all the coaching along with, you know, the defensive scheme. And those guys, Coach Lepp, Coach Wyatt, Coach Matt, Coach Gunn, they're great coaches. So the trust factor, I can close my eyes as a coordinator, and I know what's going on with those guys because we've been together, we have relationships, and they're going to do a great job throughout the season and throughout our time together.
You knew those coaches beforehand. Coach Wyatt was a GA at TCU when you were recruited, and I gather originally committed to TCU.
Mm-hmm.
You worked with him and Coach McDaniel at A&M. You worked with Coach Lepp at Tulsa. Was it by design that you put together a staff of guys you already knew as you get started, since this is your first go-around as a coordinator?
Well, I talked to Coach Morris about that, and that was important to me because I had to have people in the room who, you know, that I know what they're, you know, like I said earlier, I know where they are. I know where their heart lies. I know how they coach. I know who they are. And, you know, you're in that room and there's egos in that room, and they're not our room, but in the defensive room, in an offensive room, there's egos, there's things that you deal with. Well, this is my first year doing this. I don't want to have to deal with that. I don't want to have to deal with somebody where I didn't know how to tell them this or how we deal with this. That's not that. We are entrenched. Our relationships, we are entrenched in that room. Coach McDaniel, he and I are, we're as tight as they come. Same thing with Coach Matt, Coach Lepp and I. Coach Gunn was really the guy who I didn't work with, but I knew who Coach Gunn was. I've known Coach Gunn over the years. He came in immediately, and I was impressed by who he is, number one, as a man, but who he is as a coach, his detail and being the way he relates with the players. I was totally impressed by that. So, and then his personality is no different than the guys in their room. So, as we go through the tough times, we'll go through tough times. It won't all be lollipops and ice cream cones. As we go through those tough times, the people in that room, they have warrior clothes. You know, they know how to put them on, and they'll be fine. It'll be great, and they'll help me. They'll support me through those times. And I think that the way I make decisions, the way I do things, is I always take wise counsel. I feel like in that room I have wise counsel, and especially in this, my first time doing this, I need Buddy Wyatt to lean on. I'll need Coach Lepp, who's done it, Coach Gunn, who's been in the business a while. I'll need those guys to lean on and to take advice from. But I understand that this is not intramurals. You know what I mean? I'm driving the bus, and it stops with me, and then, you know, Coach Morris has given me that, and I appreciate that, and I honor that.
So this staff was made up of guys you chose. It wasn't Coach Morris coming to you and saying, "Here's your assistants, now go put them together and make them work." These were your selections.
Coach Morris and I, we talked through it, because Coach Morris had a relationship with Coach Matt. Coach Morris had a relationship with these same guys, so it was not like there was a discussion with Coach Morris to make sure that these guys fit who he is as a head coach, and as well as fit what we want to do on defense. So it was a discussion, but it was not. And I've had some opportunities in the past where I would be airlifted into that coordinator role, and I would be surrounded with people who were already chosen, and I didn't feel comfortable with that. I felt comfortable. This is the best formula for success for me at this place, this time in my career, is those guys.
One of the first things you did when you got here, the team you inherited played a 3-4 defense last year, and you switched at least the base formation to a 4-3. What is it about the 4-3 that you like that convinced you to make that switch?
Well, that's what I know. That's what the guys that we brought in here, that's what they know, and that's what they're confident in. Now, there are some things with the 3-4 sets and systems that we'll use, and our players who relished in that, they'll have fun. But really, when you look across our roster, we may fit the 4-3 system a little bit better with the guys that we have now. The guys, of course, that we're recruiting will have the opportunity to continue to get better and mold this team, this defensive team, to fit that. So more than anything, it's what we do. It's what we feel comfortable with. It's what we feel comfortable teaching. But then there's some roster places where a guy might be a better fit for a 4-3 defense than a 3-4.
There are some defensive coaches who say everything starts on the defensive line. You can generate pressure up there. You can do more things with your coverage in the back. And there are others who say if you get your lockdown coverage, you can be more creative with your front seven. In your mind, is there a position or position group that will absolutely drive this defense and be the key to the success?
Well, I'm a secondary guy by heart, by nature, by birth. But I feel like it starts up front. It starts with our defensive line. I always say to them, you're the biggest guys on the team. You gotta be the dominant guys. But it starts up front. It starts up front with them. And if you can control the line of scrimmage, offenses say it too. If you can control the line of scrimmage, then you give yourself a chance. If you can't control the line of scrimmage, this is football, and football is a will imposing sport. Well, wills are imposed on the line of scrimmage. So for the morale, for the mentality, for all the things that we want to try to do, we feel like we have to put great emphasis on the defensive line. And that's why Coach Wyatt and Coach Gunn are great coaches, to be able to instill the toughness, the mentality, athleticism, all those things, the proper technique that we talk about on the defensive front. Those guys do a great job of it, and they believe, like we believe, that it starts up front.
There are everybody is playing for you is brand new to you and your system. Are there different levels of complexity in your system? Is it easier for defensive linemen or DBs or linebackers to pick up your system than maybe the other guys around them?
Well, I say this, I'm a secondary guy again. And if I'm going to put pressure on anybody, I'm going to put pressure on the guys that I coach. I'm going to put pressure on the guys where I played. Some coaches, it's kind of funny, but they like to take the pressure off of their guys. They're like, oh, we got to make it easy for them. And they make it more difficult for the guys that they don't coach. They make the defensive line coach, he makes it easy. He makes it easy for his guys, makes it hard on the linebacker. A linebacker coach, he makes it easy on his guys, but really gives the safeties fits when it comes to, well, I believe, if anybody's going to get pressure, they're going to be struggling, they're going to be put out there, it's going to be my guys. Because I feel like when I'm in that position room with them, I'm going to say, listen, hey, you're going to have to be the best on the team. You're going to have to do this. I'm going to coach them through it. But in this system, we put a lot on the safeties mentally, communication-wise, we put a lot on them. We put a lot on the linebackers. So if there's a group where communications mentally, it's going to be those safeties and those linebackers. From a mental toughness standpoint, we put a lot on those corners because they do some things that some of these kids have not had to do, but they went through it in the spring and they understand the pressures. But then I think when you take a guy through fire and he survives, he's a different guy. He's a different guy. And we talk about what's going on in our weight room right now with Coach True and that staff. These guys are going through fire. They went through fire in the spring. They went through it in the winter conditioning. they're different people as they walk around the campus. Now they haven't played a game, they hadn't walked out there against an opponent, but they're different. And that's for this place where we are right now. That's all we can ask is that they're different and they're committed to that. So defensive linemen, we don't expect a whole lot from them. We just expect them to dominate the line of scrimmage. The secondary defensive backs, from safeties to corners, they got to be great communicators. They got to have a handle on the whole system. And then the linebackers have to do a great job of communicating D-line and secondary. So I think that if you talk about the pressure, that's kind of how it lays out. There's mental pressure and there's physical pressure.
At the previous stops in your coaching career, you were responsible for putting together a secondary. When you get hired at SMU, you get hired, you have to hit the ground running to go put together a recruiting class, and then you only had a short period of time to put everything together for your first spring ball. When you take over a new defense, what were the first steps that you went through to start implementing your system?
Well, the first things that we wanted to do, we wanted to evaluate who we had. Now, we made a promise to these players on this team that we will not hold what you've done in your past against you as we move forward, but we had to evaluate to find out who we were. So we did that. We went through and evaluated the guys who we were, and that played into us saying, okay, this is the structure, this is the defensive system that we will play with, is determining who we had. Then we wanted to find out in recruiting who committed, who were the guys we committed, who were the guys that we chased and they locked in, because Coach Morris and his staff didn't want to trash kids who made a commitment to SMU. So then we had to figure out where they fit. And then from there, we had to figure out what were the holes, what did we not, we're going through this, we're going through recruiting, what do we need to go and get? So that's kind of what we did. And the fact that we had to hit the ground running, the fact that we didn't have a lot of time, we didn't fulfill everything, but we felt like we got a good group of young men in the class who fit the system, who fit the standards morally and character-wise of the program, and who have athleticism. We talked about with the staff when we first got here is, hey man, we want to make sure we recruit talent. We want to make sure that we do a great job of recruiting talent, that we do a great job of developing, identifying character, that we want to make sure that we let these guys on this team, and as we recruit, know that, hey, we're building a culture of family. We want to make sure that they understood that we're about fundamentals, that we want to create turnovers. You got to be known for something, that we want to be fundamentally sound, and we want to create turnovers. That's what we want to do. And then we want to have fun. Those things were tremendously important that we laid out in our message. Just like Coach Morris talks about the creed of the program, that we're accountable, that we're physically and mentally tough, that we're a family, that we have integrity, that we have a certain amount of confidence. Those are the things that he laid out. Well, defensively, we talked about, those other things. And we felt like if we could get those things across, then we roll right into spring practice and then have a whole new set of things that we had to get in terms of you're going to practice hard, you're going to play with great effort out on the football field, or we'll be accountable for it after practice. And we had some sessions of up downs, but we call it up down. Or if you get a loaf and you don't work hard in practice, we do an up down. Well, the first day, if we would have done up downs for loafs, we would have done 97. So, that just means, listen, guys, we got to show you how we want you to practice. So there was a learning curve for those guys to be able to figure out who we were. What did we expect? Because they practiced on a different level, right, wrong, and different. It's just different than what we expected. So there was we had to kind of give them a crash course on the new SMU defense practice habits and effort 101. And by the end of the spring, 97 loafs or 97 up downs was reduced to 12. Now you're going to have a certain amount of, hey, look at this play, you got to do better. It was more, you got to do better. That's a loaf because the expectation, the standards are high. And we never, and we won't best is our standard. We never lowered our expectation. We never did. And we didn't care if you couldn't play. We didn't care if you were if you got out there, the expectation was your best effort. And then to jump on with Coach True is your attitude, what kind of attitude you have. But out on the football field, this is your effort, and that's what it is. And that's what it's going to be Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. That's the effort level, the expectation. So we went from, like I said, 97 to 12. And, you know, you can go from 97 loafs to 12 loafs. You can do those 12 loafs in your sleep, 12 up downs in your sleep. So.
As someone whose entire playing and coaching background is in the secondary, now that you're calling a defense, how much do you plan to call zone coverages versus man coverages, and is that determined by what the opposing offense is showing you, or is that a firm philosophical approach by you?
I think that, you know, what we do, I think the game is called, really the game is called before the game. Because the offense tells you who they are. They tell, and from and I'm not an offensive coach, but from an offensive coach, they have plays that they run because you've shown them who you're going to be. Well, our focus is to find out who they want to be and take that away. Be it man, be it zone. We really want to make sure that we are doing the best thing, not necessarily a philosophical thing for me or the staff, but what's best for our team. What can we do best? Right? What can we do best? And we always will focus on that, but with an emphasis on taking away what they do best, making them operate in an uncomfortable position. And there's nothing philosophical about how we will attack. We will always be attacking, be it zone or man.
When you look back at your first spring, you've now had 15 practices with these guys. Who stood out to you? Who jumped out and made you think that's going to be one of my big contributors in the fall?
Oh, there are quite a few guys that came. What we wanted to do is show them how to practice. The success. We honestly we didn't have a measure for. Or we gonna stun them on this day when we get out in scrimmages. This is what we're gonna. As a staff, now we told them, hey, we got an expectation of this, but really our focus was to let's see who works. Let's see who can be coachable. Let's see who gives us great effort. Let's see who makes plays. You know, let's see who can turn that ball over, right? Well, guys who stood out in the secondary, Jordan Wyatt was a standout guy for us. Horace Richardson, who's been injured quite a bit, but fought through a lot during the spring and was really good. Jesse Montgomery, same thing, injured but really stood out for us. Kyrie Mitchell, Jackson Mitchell stood out. Shaq, just by his mere presence on the team, the fact that he's played multiple positions, the fact that he's one of our more athletic guys, the fact that he's a senior and has a lot of experience, he stood out to us. Zach Wood, Lawler was really impressive and has been impressive throughout the summer. And I could go on and on, but Anthony Roman, those guys, they just jump right out at us for their work ethic. Jonathan Yinga. And I think one of the things that Coach Mack always says, and I think he might have even said it in an interview, early on, Yinga was just filling it out, you know. So we had to jump on him and say, hey, let's go. You don't have time for that. You're a leader, start leading. Robert Seals, who is really a quiet guy, but we know that he has some ability, and he showed flashes of it, you know. So those are the guys that kind of stood out, and we want even more from them, you know, and they understand that. They understand that, you know, there's never a sleeping day.
Anthony Roan, you mentioned, is still a young player, spent a lot of the spring making the calls for the defense. Mm-hmm. Was there any hesitation on your part or the other defensive coaches to turn that responsibility over to such a young guy?
No. They say, kids say, it is what it is. You know, it is what it is. So there'll be freshmen that'll get out there and play. Offensively, defensively, special teams. They'll do that. If they can do it, we're going to have them do it. We always say we're going to lean on seniors first. We want to lean on them first because they have experience, they've been around, they've done it, and you just hope that a senior will take over and do that. If he doesn't, we'll go get a freshman. That's the way we'll do it. And Rome, like I said, he stood out because he sprints. He's not the biggest, he's not the strongest, he's not the fastest, but you're never outworking him. He in his second place run, he looks like he's running for an Olympic gold medal, you know, and you got to appreciate that guy. So when he jumped out there and for whatever reason was able to jump in with that first group, because he wouldn't be the guy just from a body makeup, from a 40-yard dash time, he wouldn't be the guy that you just choose. But when he jumped out there, he took the reins and everybody else backed up, and he's you can't take him from him now.
When you and your staff evaluate players, when you, like you said, when you're figuring out what you've got, how much of it was watching them in the weight room, running on the field, and in practice, and how much of it was looking back at last year's film?
We watched just very little film. You know, we watched very little film, and like I said, that was the promise to make sure that, you know, you just didn't have a taste in your mouth that was unfair for the kids to be able to stack a depth chart off it. We watched film, but very little. We mostly watched the clean slate, and that's what we talked to them about. Hey, this is a clean slate, so let me see. We don't want to hear you talk. There are some guys that came and, Coach, I want to watch a little film. No, you don't. Get in that weight room. Let me see you work in that weight room. Let me see you work outside in that hot sun. Then we can get in the film room. You know, then we can watch and you can tell me who you are. You can talk about it. Let me see it first. And that was the attitude of our staff. And these guys, they learned early on that this was not going to be a debate. We're not going to be talking through positions and talking into positions. It was going to be a show me deal. And quite a few of them, they did. They went out and showed us who they are. And we were impressed by the ethic that these guys bring to the table every day.
Somewhere around your new offices here, there's a map that breaks up the state of Texas into different recruiting areas for the different assistant coaches. The position coaches have an area, you and Coach Craddock don't, at least on that map. How much are you getting out on the road and recruiting, or are you simply closing deals with players that other coaches find?
We do have areas. I have an area in Houston, but it's not very big. And now, recruiting is my thing. So you can believe that I have 4 pair of boxing gloves that I have to battle the other coaches because they give me such a small area, and I want a bigger area. But so far I've been knocked out. You know, when I put the boxing gloves on, Coach Lep TKOs me. Coach Wyatt, he punches me in the gut, and it's over. You know, so I'm fighting for more recruiting area. I never get it, but we don't have an area because one of the things that we don't have a big area because one of the things that we try to do is Coach Craddock and myself is we go in and, you know, there may be a guy that Coach Mathis, as a running back coach, he's in his area, but Coach McDaniel is, I just don't know about this linebacker. Well, then I go in and give a third eye, you know, to be able to say, you're right, Coach Mathis, or you're right, Coach Matt. He doesn't fit, you know. So that's kind of what has allowed us to be able to do, because that situation always comes up where there's a guy that you just don't know, or you kind of know, but then when you're a kid and the coordinator walks into your school, and like you said, that closes the deal with you because that shows the commitment. So there's a small percentage of visits that we use, you know, for that, but mostly it's having an opportunity to get another set of eyes on a guy. To be able to decide, you know, that we can project him as a safety. He's a running back. The running back coach likes him, but you know what? Why don't you guys take a look at him as a safety? It gives us the opportunity to cross over and be able to declare if a guy can project or to make a decision on a guy one way or another.
Practice starts in a few weeks, and again, your first season as a coordinator. As it gets closer, is it sort of like being a freshman at Texas or a rookie with the Lions, your first season in a new role?
Yeah, but like I said, by that time I'll be in the plane and they'll be pushing me out, you know. And so you just roll, you know. I think for moving forward, the things that'll happen moving forward, and Coach Morris has already prepared for them by the staff that I have around me, the people that I have around me, and we work so well together. We always have worked so well together that it'll be easy peasy, lemon squeezy, is what my kids say.
Do you wish you weren't starting your career as a coordinator against a top 10 team that averaged 48 points a game last year?
But you know what? You recruit kids and you say, hey, you're gonna come here, you're gonna get a chance to play the best. Well, as a coordinator, I can't tell a kid that and not believe the same as a coordinator. Am I ready to play against Baylor today? No, not ready today. You know, but it's a process, and we're gonna as a team we'll be ready. There's a challenge, but I think that if it were not a challenge, then it wouldn't be fun. You know, our players and probably I've talked to a lot of fans and they say, "Oh man, wow. What does it feel like?" It feel the same if we were playing Waltrip High School. By the way, I like to scrimmage them. They just won't call me back. But it feel the same, you know, no matter who we play. It's that competition when the season starts. You jump in and you start rolling, and then you figure out, okay, we play Baylor. Well, great, let's go get them. You know, because more than worry about Baylor, we're worried about ourselves right now. And throughout camp, we're gonna worry about ourselves. We're gonna worry about making sure that we get these kids and give them a great opportunity to get lined up, teach them the fundamentals of defense, teach them how to tackle, continue to stress importance and turnovers and those things. And then we got to play all those games. So we'll line up and play them week after week after week. Now, as a coach, we're gonna win every game. You know, when I sit here, we're going to win every single game. Are we ready to play any of them yet? No. But we're going to win every single game and the bowl game and the national championship. That's the way I believe. And if you believe any different, if you're a coach, you're making a mistake. You know, but I do understand that there's preparation in all of it. And that's where we come in as a staff, as coaches. That we're going to prepare them to, if all of a sudden Baylor calls and they can't show up, but the Green Bay Packers can show up, okay, we got to play them. Let's go. You know, or if none of those teams can show up and Ellsworth Middle School shows up, we're going to play them too with the same effort and intensity and work ethic that we've shown since we've been here.
You've been here 6 months now, 7 months. Everywhere that you've been hired, starting with North Dakota State to Tulsa to Oklahoma State and now here, you probably knew a little bit about each school, maybe not North Dakota State, but you had an idea in your mind of what Tulsa was, what A&M was, what SMU was. Now that you've been here 6 or 7 months, how does the reality of coaching at SMU compare to what you thought SMU was before you started here?
Well, if anything, it has exceeded my expectations in terms of the excitement, you know, that has been generated to know what happens in the city of Dallas around SMU and the support that we have here. That's kind of been a pleasant surprise, you know, because to have a team that struggled the way this team did last season, but then just have a new staff come in to see where were all these people, you know. That's been a little bit of a wild thing for me, but the administration, all those people, it is exactly what I thought it would be. They've been exactly the way I thought they would be, and it's been great. These players, they're players. They want you to push them. They want you to give them feedback, and I think we have a plan to do that. The recruiting, I thought that it'd be tough. It'd be tough to recruit, but I know who these guys in these offices. I know what they would do, but I thought that would take time. I didn't realize that the momentum would roll the way it has, but I know Coach Morris has done a great job of keeping that going. So I've been a little bit surprised by the early success in recruiting, but I know that part is going to even get better. You know, it's going to even get better. What we have to continue to do is work to put a product on the field to make kids and people continue to get excited, because everybody's excited now. You know, everybody's excited now. But when there's a hiccup, then there's some people, they put their cars in reverse.